Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprise Project, Niger Delta Life ND.
Nigeria is Africa's most populous country, having 42% of the youth and 36% of the women either unemployed or underemployed, an issue that requires redress to alleviate poverty both now and into the future. The Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprises Project for the Niger Delta, Life ND, is a project of the Federal Government of Nigeria, FGN, designed in collaboration with International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The project is in response to the limited readily available options for the disadvantaged youth and women in the rural and suburban communities to improve their means of livelihood and help them to live decent lives. Life ND promotes community-based on-farm and off-farm business activities along key agricultural value chain as a mechanism for job and wealth creation amongst unemployed and underemployed youths and women-headed households. The Life ND project adopts an incubator model at the community level of the local government areas, targeting core commodities of comparative advantage in such communities. Life ND communities beneficiaries are identified, trained, and supported in different segments of agriculture along the entire value chain. This goal is supported by two strategic objectives. 1. The sustainable, climatic resilient, economic and financial inclusion of young people in profitable agribusiness. 2. Strengthened institutions at the state and community levels to work with private actors in key value chains to target poor families who are mostly unemployed youth and women. The Livelihood Improvement Family Enterprises Project for the Niger Delta strategies includes promotion of enterprises responsive to women's livelihood, such as production, processing, and marketing of vegetables, fish, poultry, and honey for income, household food security, and nutrition. Time, venue, and environment-friendly events for women's participation. Self-targeting of women's only group. Provision of at least 50% of leadership positions for women in commodity associations and 30% of women in project management team. Promotion of the use of Gender Action Learning System, GALS. IFAD is funding Abia, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and Ondo are among the different states in the Niger Delta region where Life ND is currently making impact in the lives of the beneficiaries, while NDDC is to provide funding for Rivers, Imo, and Akwa Ibom states. Each state project coordination office, SPCO, will select 4 out of the 7 commodities in consultation with the state government and IFAD. The commodity selection will be guided by criteria including the level of return of investment, potentials for job creation, and government priority. Cassava, rice, plantain, oil palm rehabilitation, cocoa rehabilitation, vegetable, fishery, poultry, piggery are commodities chosen for each state for the 9 Niger Delta states, and they are expected to choose 4 from them. For states like Ondo, where 4 enterprises consisting of cassava farming, cocoa farming, fish farming, and poultry farming, and IFAD, Life ND is targeting 4,250 youths and women across Ondo State within 6 years, being the first phase of the Life ND project.
I wasn't into fish farming before getting involved in IFAD program, but due to the passion that I have for fish farming, I developed more interest.
Lanre Adekunle, a 2020 IFAD, Federal Government of Nigeria, Life ND incubatee story is an inspiration for many who had wished going into fishery business but had no money to venture into the business.
And when I check it and I discovered I'm interested in fish farming, and I applied for it. Fortunately, I was shortlisted and I was interviewed by IFAD personnel. They organized a training for us, like an orientation training, in last year, October, and they orientate us about what we want, the enterprise we want to do. And we were being trained. After the training, they assign us to an incubation center. I wasn't into fish farming before getting involved in IFAD program, but due to the passion that I have for fish farming, I developed more interest.
Supporting Lanre's dream project in fish farming business, IFAD, Federal Government of Nigeria, Life ND, has given him a token to kickstart his business.
And the farm is doing very well. It's a big boost to the program. We are privileged to have such serious-minded people trained in our farm.
Welcome to Idore,
a suburb in Ondo State, noted for its magnificent hills that surround the town, is also reputed in large-scale cocoa farming. It has, however, over time failed to meet its once bountiful yield in cocoa harvest over the years due to lack of technology in cocoa farming techniques and inadequate or lack of other factors mitigating against good yields in cocoa. The coming of IFAD, FGN, NDDC, Life NG project has, however, helped to improve cocoa yields in the state with the training its cocoa farmers incubatee, who have also taken on the farming of cash crops. Femi Olofigba Sote, one of the beneficiaries of 2020 FGN, NDDC, IFAD, Life ND project, is glad to have been among those chosen to understudy an incubator on how to handle cocoa seedlings and rehabilitation.
It has added a lot of value to my life because before I don't have anything I'm doing. But now having been trained under IFAD, I can boast of a farm of my own where I realize money for my people and to my people at my community. I imparted knowledge to them that before there's a way they do things. Now I tell them this is the new way of doing things. And another value it added to my life that I employ people.
The incubator noted that the training given to them by the Life ND have been very helpful in their agricultural practices, leading to very impressive harvest.
Before IFAD came into the stream, all we were doing was just to maintain our farms just the old ways, the traditional ways. Because we've been in this, my parents and my grandfathers have been in this farm for close to 100 years. But by the intervention of IFAD, a Life ND program, they train us into nursing, into other aspects of this cocoa farming, even to the production level. And so we have some incubators that are being trained even with us, or with us to nurture their production. Last planting season, our incubators, together with us, we did about 20,000 nurseries of cocoa. And that translates to almost 20 hectares of plantation. And individually, all of them now, they have nurseries in their farms. They are doing nurseries too, in their individual farms. So that's why we're very grateful to IFAD, our Life ND program, for bringing this program to us.
The state project coordinator of IFAD, Life ND, attributed the success of the project in Ondo State to the partnership they have with the Cocoa Revolution and Management Agency and the Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria.
Ondo State is well known, arguably as the largest producer of cocoa in Nigeria. And when this project came on board, we looked at it, that okay, how do we develop the youth along the value chains that are existing in cocoa production. We are looking at the area of farm rehabilitation. All the cocoa farms can be rehabilitated. 2, we are looking at nursery establishment. Then 3, we are looking at processing. Ensure that we have what called a premium cocoa beans, being processed, within the farming folds that we have in Ondo State. And we're equally looking at wise use of agrochemicals, in the farming plantation, in the cocoa plantation. So now, we need to ensure that we engage some youths, male and female, and we need to train them and get them entrenched, in the system of cocoa production, right from production to marketing level.
In Abia State, where the project has commenced fully, many of the Life ND incubatees have graduated and now have their own agro-businesses and are helping to reduce the unemployment issue in the Niger Delta region.
My portion of cassava farm is over here. After cultivating after preparing the farmland, we have planted my cassava. I've applied the herbicides to help my crops grow well.
Yes, we have trained them well. For example, those that came in for us to train were incubatees in the area of rice processing. We have trained them on rice processing, rice packaging, and rice marketing. And it is a well time spent with them.
The Life ND, FGN, NDDC, IFAD project has not forgotten the disabled who have been inculcated into the program.
I heard it on radio, newspaper, and posters. Then I applied. I have gained much knowledge about how to do poultry business. Even all the trainings that I have gone, but I have benefited it so much. I was trained in financial literacy and business orientation training at Tomwaya. Now, like in the officials, they give me transport that I used to take and transport myself to my incubation center.
Narrating the challenges earlier faced in securing lands for their activities in Abia State, the state project coordinator noted he is, however, pleased that things are now better.
The project at the initial stage, of course, when we got to the communities to advocate, seek for their participation, full participation and support to the project, there were doubts. They said, some of them carelessly said, it's not one of those government projects that will come and at the end of the day, nothing is fizzles out and without much impact. And we kept reinforcing the message that we've come for real. And I'm happy to speak today that most of these communities are saying a different story. In fact, we've had some communities come here to approach us to see if we can include them in our project. And I'm happy that that is happening. And it's as a result of the little sincerity and transparency that we display in our activities.
Also in Bayelsa State, precisely in Sabagria community in Klokuma Opokuma local government area, Life ND has been equally performing wonders in the lives of once jobless youths and women, as 10 of the indigents or residents have gone through intensive training for plantain suckers multiplication.
After the training, they are back to Bayelsa State to establish their own sucker multiplication farms. So they are actually doing very well, and it's a success story, and I want IFAD to actually continue. So I'm using this opportunity to thank IFAD, also the state government, and Life ND National.
The lives of these beneficiaries have changed positively after receiving training, put what they have learned to work, produce plantain suckers, and are now selling these plantain suckers to generate revenue, thereby improving the lives of the incubatees and their dependents.
I am one of the trainees of plantain multiplication. I and my team went to Onne for the training, and we have successfully completed the training. So far so good. They have set us up, so we've been able to multiply the suckers, which we are selling them now.
One of the objectives of the Life ND, IFAD, NDDC is to improve the livelihood and status of the incubatees.
Based on the objectives of Life ND is to improve the livelihoods of young women and men in Bayelsa State. That has been established, and I can say to you confidently that the incubatees can stand on their own based on what is on ground now. The knowledge has been acquired, and they are doing very well on their business.
The success story of the Life ND project in the state is what has gladdened the minds of those behind the project, as it helped to reduce most of the negatives associated with the youths and women of the Niger Delta region. It has also helped with the federal government of Nigeria's diversification of accrued revenue by keying into agriculture for unemployed youths and women, as mapped out in the country's Vision 2020 drive.